Ventura lives on Culver Ave, right along the Boilermaker course. When she looked out her window on Sunday morning, she expected to see the runners, but instead,
I saw two police cars way down this post street, and I said that was odd, But then I, went back, and then the next thing I know, I got a phone call from my daughter saying something happened right down the street.
This case particularly highlights the negative impact of social media. Despite all of its positives, social media led to a killer finding his victim and, worst of all, being able to share the grisly crime scene afterwards online, meaning it was out there forever and for everyone to see, including the victim's family. The city of Utica is in New York, the Big Apple. It's known as the city that God forgot, so if that's not a clear indication on don't go there, then I don't know what is. It's got a zoo, some renowned good ass pies, and a population of 60,320. Amongst these 60,000 or so people was Bianca Devins. Bianca Devins was born on the 2nd of October 2001 in New Hartford, New York. She lived in Utica alongside her mum and younger sister. Bianca's father and mother split up for the first time in 2010. Mike Devins was emotionally abusive and she filed multiple domestic incident complaints against him. He left the family for good in 2015, with him maintaining little contact with his daughter, Bianca. Those in Utica who knew Bianca said that she was a supportive and kind-hearted friend, but they also described her behaviour as occasionally erratic. She'd attended middle school at Notre Dame Junior/Senior High School and then Thomas R. Proctor High School, a public school with around 2,700 students. She was enrolled at Mohawk Valley Community College to study psychology, still in Utica. Bianca was a troubled young soul, battling with depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot on someone's plate, especially someone who's that young. Bianca's struggles with mental health began when she entered middle school at Notre Dame Junior/Senior High School. Although Bianca had experienced separation anxiety in 3rd grade, she had been relatively extroverted and popular until she reached adolescence, at which point she just lost interest in everything, according to her mother, Kim. Bianca would consolidate with a mental health counsellor who she disclosed to her a fantasy to self-harm. This disclosure would see Bianca in a mental health clinic in Albany from October 2018 to 2019. She would reconcile in online communities isolated by her mental health in real life, including Discord and 4chan. Her unstable state of mind, however, made her an easy target. She met a romantic partner on 4chan, running away from her family to be with him on 3 separate occasions. This romantic partner also shared explicit photos of Bianca online when she was just 15. Devins was a prime target for pervs on the net, preying on the young, vulnerable girl. She was harassed for at least 2 years solid by incels. Despite all this, it seems that the internet was finally starting to have a positive impact on Bianca's life. She found a place where she could be accepted after building her own fan base up online and developing her following as an e-girl. This was where she met Brandon Clark. Brandon Andrew Clark was born on the 6th of October 1997 and lived just 30 minutes away from Bianca in Utica. He too, like Bianca, had a troubled childhood, living in an unstable household and seeing his father regularly abuse his mother, even holding her at knife point for several hours. This landed Clark in state foster care. It was through her growing online presence on Discord and Instagram that the two would cross paths, meeting on Instagram in April 2019 after Clark began following her. They later met in person, and Clark even attended her graduation party. Their friendship boomed from this point. It blossomed. However, Clark didn't just want to be friends, he wanted more. He himself was described as obsessive, a stalker, and perhaps even an incel. He had a habit of getting fixated on things, whether it be Pokemon or the new video game that was out, which he was known for. Bianca was now his new obsession. His internet history would show he had saved photos of Devins, scouted her social media profiles constantly, and would send her annoying messages. Nicole Doleanger, a Canadian singer famous for songs such as Lemonade and Heart-Shaped Bed, was performing in Queens, New York City, around 4 hours away from Utica, on the night of July the 13th, 2019. Devins, Clark, and another friend called Alex would all be in attendance that night. Clark caught Devins and Alex kissing at the event. The girl he was obsessed with was kissing someone else. Upon leaving the concert, Devins was asleep in the back of Clark's car. He woke her and then confronted her about the kiss. Devins apologised and told him that they weren't in a relationship and free to see who they please. This, however, wasn't the response that Clark wanted to hear. Clark's cell phone was on record on the dash of the car, which caught the interaction and the events that followed. Upon waking and confronting Devins, Clark began striking her. She then threatened that she will get out of the car and walk home. From here, he pulled out a large knife that he'd retrieved from his trunk and was hiding behind the seat. The fact that there was a knife already present in the vehicle, rope, and other instruments point towards that all this was premeditated even before the events of the concert. From here, he proceeded to slice her neck, leaving her nearly decapitated, and left her to die in the car on a deserted, wooded, dead-end road. Clark exited the car and built a bonfire before phoning up numerous family members. His erratic calls led to them phoning the police concerned about him. Clark would then phone the police himself. "My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devins. I'm not going to stay on the phone for long because I still need to do the suicide part of the murder-suicide," Clark told the police. Clark posted photos of Devins' body to a Discord server, presumably the one that Devins was part of too, alongside the caption, "Sorry fuckers, you're going to have to find somebody else to orbit." This led to the Discord community too contacting the police, who then contacted Devins' family. Upon the police arriving at the scene, Clark attempted to commit suicide, even leaving a suicide note reading, "May you never forget me." While doing this, he was still taking photos. This showed him laid down on top of a tarpaulin he'd placed over Bianca's body, which was now outside the car. The keyword here is attempted, because he survived, was arrested, and then taken for emergency surgery where he would eventually recover. Photos of Bianca Devins would spread like wildfire on social media, drawing mixed reactions. Many were devastated at the death of such a young girl, while some cruelly celebrated it. On 4chan, hundreds praised Clark for committing another 4chan murder and mocking her e-girl image. Sites like 8chan and incels.co were also celebratory. The images are still shockingly enough found online. Olivia, Bianca Devlin's sister, said that even 2 years later, the photos were still being sent to her. Despite Facebook adding the images of the murder to a digital fingerprint database, Clark's Facebook and Instagram removed from either site, and the Discord server Clark used to post being shut down. These images didn't just scar the general public, but our own family too, who were unfortunate enough to have came across them online. Her stepfather reports having flashbacks to the images he'd seen, as well as her sister too. The hashtags Etsy and Pink Clouds for Bianca were used to combat the spreading of the images. The hashtag RIP Bianca was also briefly trending on Twitter, showing solidarity after the events that had happened. Upon her time of death, Bianca Devins had just 2,000 followers. Upon making this video, it's sitting at 158,000. Clark pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder on the 29th of July 2019, claiming that he'd blanked out and forgot details of her death. He eventually changed his plea to guilty on the 10th of February 2020. 4 days after this, the video that Clark took of Devins was announced to the public, which completely slashed the excuse that he blanked out and couldn't remember anything that he was portraying. He was scheduled to be sentenced on April 7, 2020, but everyone's favourite thing ever, COVID-19, had other ideas, and it was delayed. While in prison, Clark was caught with a shiv made from a toothbrush, which saw him charged. He also wrote a letter bragging about how it felt to kill, and his motive that was, he couldn't handle the thought of her walking out of his life. On the 2nd of June, Clark withdrew his guilty plea after claiming that his lawyer had failed him. His appeal was denied after his admission of guilt, and his trial began on September 30th, 2020, and on March 16th, 2021, Clark was sentenced to 25 years to life, which is a serious let-off. Facebook, Insta, Twitter, any social media you can name, there's always problems. You can't police and monitor every corner 24/7. It's impossible, and Bianca Devins' family unfortunately felt this firsthand. It's where their friendship started, and unfortunately the place it will live forever, and for all the wrong reasons. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, and if you enjoyed it enough, maybe even a sub. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.